This video will introduce you to layer masks and how they relate to showing and hiding what's on a layer. It is part of our non-destructive editing approach. Previously, if we erased something that deleted or destroyed pixel information, from now on we'd like to use layer masks to hide or show what's on a layer. That way you can blend images together in a very non-destructive, flexible format. So when you create a layer, again, we have blending modes, we have opacities, and when you create a layer, initially it's just the layer itself. So this is the layer thumbnail. I just created this little simple little example here, and then we have our background. Remember, with each of our layers, we can use the move tool and move the layers around. We can overlap them and so on. Change the order of the layer so that one is in front of the other. And so what we want to do now is be able to show or hide what's on a particular layer. And we do that with a layer mask. So if we go under the layer menu, now there's multiple ways to do this, so I'll show you a few different ways. Layer, layer mask, reveal all, hide all, or from transparency. For right now, we're going to say reveal all. When you do that, you'll get another thumbnail to the right of your layer thumbnail. This is the layer thumbnail, the layer mask thumbnail. It's critical that you remember which layer you're editing, because you want to make sure if you're painting on the layer itself, to edit that layer, you want to click on the layer thumbnail. If you want to edit the layer mask, you need to click that thumbnail, and notice a little box shows up around it. That way you're editing one or the other. You can't do both at the same time. With a layer mask, the way you show what's on a layer is with white paint, and as you can see here, this little thumbnail is all white, so it's showing or revealing the entire layer. If you want to hide anything completely, make it invisible, you're going to use black paint. So I'll show you how that works. In my foreground background swatches here, we have white as our foreground, black as our background. And so when you're editing, you're always editing with the foreground color when you're painting. So I want to switch that. I can either click this little toggle switch here, or I can hit the letter X one time and it switches back and forth. It's super handy, especially when you're masking, to remember the letter X to toggle foreground to background. I'm going to take my paintbrush, and again, we went over brushes with a hard brush or soft brush. I'm going to make this a hard brush and make it bigger so we can actually see something. And so now if I paint with black paint, now I'm over here, but I want to paint on the circle. I'm going to click a couple times and then make a little smiley face. Notice that the gradient background is showing through, but the nice thing about layer masks is I haven't deleted that information. If I ever want to bring it back or re-edit it, I just switch over here again to white paint and I can bring that back. Okay, so you can go back and forth and really dial in the effect that you're looking for. So I'm just showing what's on this layer. I'm not deleting it. I can always use white paint and bring it completely back. Or I can just take a little piece off the top, switch back to black paint, and create these interesting, unique shapes. I'm going to click on the box here. Again, we want to add a layer mask first. If for some reason you don't do that and you think you're editing and you see black paint or you see white paint, double check and make sure you're on a layer that has a layer mask and you're actually on the layer mask. In this case, I have no layer mask, so I'm painting directly on the layer. It's really difficult to get rid of that once you've gone too far down the line. So I'm going to go back to my history here. I'm going to undo those last couple steps. And here I want to click on the box. So the first time we went under layer mask. This time I'm going to click right down here in the layers palette. Notice this little icon right here with a circle in the middle of it. Click on that and it'll automatically create a layer mask for you. I'm on the box layer mask. Again, with black paint I can remove pieces or switch back to white paint with the X key Toggles back and forth between black and white, and I can bring any of this back. I can bring it all back or just a portion of it. Okay. Again, with the brush, if I wanted to use a soft brush, change the hardness. And with black paint, you can see I have a nice soft feathered edge. Okay, so some of this will take some experimenting and trial and error, but the beauty is that if you go too far, switch back to white and bring it back in. Okay, so basically the idea here is that white paint with your paintbrush will show through, black paint will hide, and you will only be working on one layer mask at a time, and you have to double check and make sure that the layer mask you're working on, the layer you're on, you're actually editing the mask and not the layer. Again, if you forget to click on the layer mask and you see white paint or black paint, double check because you could be editing the layer and not the mask. So that's the basics of the way our layer masks work. We'll have some further examples here in a minute that will show you applications for those layer masks.